Everybody hurry up and get back to the floor.
I was out rounding people up. Quorum, please, right here.
And you please take your seats. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready for round 2 of the forum game? Okay, so you know the drill. You have a voting card. Are the scrutineers ready? So the first thing that we're going to do is that they're going to count the number of people in the room to make sure that we have at least 175. If we have 175, we'll then do a second count on the number of lay people in the room, and then a third count on the number of ordered ministers, designated lay ministers, and admittance. Okay? So don't get all excited if we go over 175, because there's more to come. Okay? So could you hold up your voting cards, and the scrutineers will count.
We have to stay if we do like this. That's I feel like it's ominous that.
Okay, now remember I said don't get too excited. So we've hit the magic number. Now here's the next magic number we need, and that number is? Okay, so now we need 63. So if you are a layperson, hold up your voting cards.
Go lay people. I believe in you more than So it's make it fair, not like it's just so we have say that it's 191 to 20 all the youth take houses. I think a half.
Okay, the lay people have done their part. Just so you know, we did have this plan that we were going to have the Jeopardy theme playing in the background. So here's the moment of truth. If you are order of ministry, designated lay minister, or an admittand, hold up your voting card. We need the same number. We need 63.
5.
Okay, so we are now in official meeting. So the annual meeting is in session. I'm really pleased that Louise Mahood does not have 2 broken legs and 2 broken arms, but she was here to vote. So remember this morning we talked about the opening motions, and we agreed by show of warm and cool cards to follow those. We would like now to put that to you in the form of a motion, so that what you saw this morning is actually what will go into the record of proceedings. And so there are 2 motions. We're going to do them at the same time, since you apparently agreed with them this morning. And so Aubrey Brown will move both of them, and someone else will second them.
There's a seconder? Ross.
Ross Leckie, Southwest Presbyterian.
Thank you. There's no debate on these. We already talked about it. So all in favor? Hold up your white cards, your voting cards. You know, it's not a cool or warm situation here now. Okay. Those opposed? So carried. Christine?
Is it working? Yep. Okay. So I just want to start, before I begin, I am up here in my role as chair of the Conference and Review Committee, and I have a really wonderful job. I'm going to be introducing the ordinance and admittance and recognizing a couple of other people who are designated lay ministers in a bit. These are the people who lead our church. These are amazing individuals that have interacted with our committee and with a whole bunch of people along the way. And I just want to talk about the importance of people for just a moment. If you've ever gone on a trip, and I've just returned from one, you remember the places you've been, but a lot of times you remember the people that you met. Remember the conversations that you had. People are what is the most important thing about being a church together, how we are together. And so we are really blessed to be able to meet some of those great people today. And I also just want to take a second to recognize some of the people who got them here. All of the people who are here today have been supported by their home congregations, by discernment committees, by ENS committees, and also by the Conference and Review Committee and the conference. We are a whole village of people raising ministers up, and we are very pleased to do so today. I also just want to say thank you to some of the members of the committee that have left this year for the important work that they've done. Our previous chair, Jessica McCrae, stepped down this year, and so I want to say a huge thank you to her. I also want to acknowledge our very absent former leader, Darren Leopold, who finds himself in Australia, and along with our former chaplain, Brian Nicholson. So we are happy for them and their new adventure, though our loss is quite keen. Also, I'd like to say thank you to Thelma Arnett, Michael Quayman, and James Lepard for all of their hard work on our committee. And so with all of that said, I'm going to simply introduce the candidates. We will sing, they have chosen a verse of a hymn, and so we'll be invited to sing that hymn, and then each candidate will come forward and tell us a little bit about themselves and their journey. And so the first one that we are going to hear from is Debbie Bukaitis Grant. And she has chosen, as you can see up there, on Eagle's Wings.
Shine like the stars, and I told you in the palm of my hand.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very honored to have this opportunity to share with you. Okay, sorry about that. All right, good. Good afternoon again. I'm very honored to have this opportunity to speak with you this afternoon about my passion for congregational ministry and the possibility of awakening changes in faith communities. I believe that God's love is found in faith communities where people experience transformation through care, compassion, affirmation, and hope. The words of the hymn that I chose today captures this for me. It is the essence of a faith community that I aspire to minister to. Refuge, shelter, trust, a place where one may be lifted, made to shine and held with the care of many hands. I'm very excited about what ministry offers at this time in our church, even in faith communities where 8 or 10 or 12 are gathered. I have just completed an incredible ministry internship living within the Bruce United Church Cooperative in Hamilton Conference. I was part of a ministry team doing church with 6 small rural churches that looked outside of their stained glass windows and said, "If you don't come to us, we will come to you. We will create a family of 6 unique families and encourage others in the broader community to join us." The leaders within these small churches, vibrant, committed 60, 70, 80-somethings who could see what they could gain by re-energizing church. Shared ministries committed to pastoral care, varied worship, the sharing of beloved sanctuaries, and the joy of being part of an extended faith community. During my journey, I often wondered what God was preparing me for. I now believe it is living and breathing ministry in congregations where I may have the love and care of God's people, where transformation beckons and wondrous possibilities envelop our church. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not going to try moving this again. Our next candidate is Alexander Constable, and so he's also chosen a hymn, and I feel the winds of God.
I'll sing,
There are so many hymns to choose. Oh, you're done.
That is a real prayer every time.
It was a difficult choice to narrow it down to one hymn. But I chose that hymn for 3 reasons. The first reason is Bon Accord. It's the name of my father's family farm, but it's also the band in which my 3 siblings and I have played and sung for about 10 years now. So this song signifies a farewell to me from my home province, my home county, many of my family and friends as I go out east to respond to a call in Maritime Conference, drawn by the wind of God, the Holy Spirit. And incidentally, you can catch Bon Accord's 2 farewell concerts, June 4th in Churchill United and June 18th, Virginia United Church in Living Waters, Presbytery. The second reason I chose that song is because of Duncan's Cove. I spent 5 summers at Atlantic School of Theology in Halifax getting my distance MDiv. And on a couple of occasions, our spiritual formation director would take us about a half-hour drive out to Duncan's Cove, this wild trail along the cliffs where there were waves and gulls and barking seals, and we would have quiet worship and communion, broken only by the sound of me on the penny whistle playing this tune as people filed by me on their way back. So this song holds a memory of my call to ministry and to that place as well. The third reason is that it conjures up the many tales of storms at sea in the Gospels. I love especially Matthew 14, where the disciples, and that could be us, are tempest-tossed on the sea in a fragile boat. Peter, the fallible, impulsive leader, and that could be us too, summons up his courage and leaves the boat's safety at Christ's call. Seeing the might of the winds and waves arrayed against him, he falters, loses faith, and begins to sink. But these winds that Peter fears are also the winds of God, the currents of change and risk that draw him closer to Christ. I too have felt the fear and hesitation at the call to lead. I have also felt the firm hand of Christ lifting me above the waves, setting me on my feet again as the call to leadership has been renewed. This vessel I'm on is at a very large crew. 4 home congregations, Guildford, Churchill, Painswick, and Oasis. My educational supervisor, Leslie, my pastoral charge supervisor, Elaine, our presbytery, this conference, my AST peers and colleagues. The voyage has not been a solo trip, but a cruise with all hands aboard. I thank you for your support and good cheer and companionship as I embark on the next leg of the voyage. I do feel the winds of God today. Today my sail I lift. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Our next candidate that we'll be meeting is Meg Jordan, and she has chosen Will You Come and Follow Me? Thank you. Meg Jordan.
I love the mystical intimacy combined with the call to action of the lyrics of that hymn. And of course, I love the tune. I mean, that's the real grabber always, right? For many, many years, I have heard God's intimate call in my life, in that deep place within and all around that we all know, and that is beyond words. Recently, I have heard Jesus call to quell my fear, to be brave, come out of hiding and allow myself to be seen and known and heard. And most of all, I have heard wisdom's call to listen deeply to the earth, to learn from her, and to teach her ways. I feel an urgency for the times we live in. There's no time for safety. There's no time for nursing old wounds. There's no time for standing by. For the sake of our children and our beloved earth, we are the ones who are called to reshape the world around us, especially the words and the images upon which that world is built. I believe we can be centers for the Spirit's emergence in our time, cauldrons of possibility for the dreams of our young people, practitioners of hope, playgrounds for exploring the fully shared life at the heart of our universe. I hear the sight and the sound and the touch of that call, and I respond, yes. Te Malkuta. Amen.
Thank you. Our next candidate who will be meeting is Linda Nuna, and she has chosen Christ Be With Me. So Linda is coming to the front now. Linda Nuna.
I didn't prepare a written statement for today because I was counting on the fact we wouldn't reach quorum. As we left the gymnasium this afternoon, we were reminded through song of how long our journeys are. And my journey, my life journey, included the privilege of being a wife, a mother of 4, a teacher, a principal, and I felt richly blessed. I felt I was a vessel and a vehicle for God's mission in redeeming the world, through learning and through education and through enabling people to build their lives in that way. It was meaningful and it was important work, I felt. And when I was promoted to superintendent with the Toronto District School Board, God decided he had other plans for me. And for 2 years, I suffered a serious illness. And let me assure you that Job had nothing on me. I spent many, many months letting God know in as many ways as possible that I had a best before date and it had expired. But he didn't listen. And so the next thing I knew, she had me enrolled at Emmanuel College on a brand new journey. Now tomorrow marks a new beginning of that journey in my ordination. And accompanying me are a wonderful group of people that you really must meet. There are 40 people coming from my 2 small congregations at Berks Falls and Katrine. And the reason you should meet them is because they will have been on a journey already in the morning. We are one of the few churches in Canada, I suspect, that are building an addition. And we have almost completed the fundraising. And tomorrow, they are doing a walkathon, a 10K walkathon to raise the remainder of the funds needed. Now, I'm the youngest in the congregation. And I may look 20, but may I assure you I am not. After such a walk, these people are joining me on my journey. They are the vehicles and the vessels of God's continuing mission of redeeming our world. And tomorrow, please take a moment to get to know them and to congratulate them. I thank God every day of my life for taking me on my journey. And the hymn that I chose today, I use in meditation as I start my day and when I conclude my day, because it reminds me so dearly and so intimately that, thank God, I do not work alone, and I'm not on this journey alone. Thanks to so many of you who have made this journey possible. It is with deepest gratitude that I express my appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. The next candidate we get to meet is Lawrence Nyarko, and he has chosen Don't Be Afraid. So Lawrence is coming up.
I'm very excited to be here today, to witness this day, and to witness tomorrow. My heart is more than excited. My being and all that is within me is very happy to witness this day, because God made it so. This is the day. Some people thought this day will never come. I'm right. While studying at Emmanuel College, I had an unwanted visitor. This visitor came as a challenge to my faith. It came not once, but twice. It came as a cancer. As I struggled with this challenge, I had to suspend my education. I had to suspend my hope. I had to suspend my dream of being a minister. Going through surgeries, radiation treatments, and chemotherapies. It seems I couldn't live to see this day. It seems I will never be ordained before I see my grave. It seems God had abandoned me. It seems I had come in between the deep blue sea and the devil. I had come between the hard surface and the rock. Whilst I was about to give up, whilst I was about to throw in the towel, I could hear a tap behind me and on my shoulder. I could hear a voice singing and calling from heaven, saying, "Don't be afraid. My love for you is greater than your fears. Don't be afraid. For I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Don't be afraid. When you pass through the water will not overwhelm you. Don't be afraid. When you walk through fire, you will never be burned. It looks like, Lawrence, you are afraid. But I'm here to tell you, don't be afraid. For I am your God. I am with you, and you are not alone. Don't be afraid.
Our final candidate for ordination is Kathy Underwood, and she has chosen My Love Colors Outside the Lines. Welcome, Kathy.
Good afternoon. One of the things that's changed since beginning my journey is I can no longer read without glasses. So as much as I'd like to see you, I'm going to see notes instead. I've been reflecting on the concept of hope over the last few months, particularly related to what is my hope for my ministry as an ordained person, and what is my greatest hope for the United Church. And as I pondered that and read and thought, ultimately I came down to just this story that I heard this week. This week I sat with Teresa, a woman in her early 40s, as she received her chemotherapy. She had come to Canada about 20 years ago, had married, and had 2 children. And when her second child was 3 months old, her name was Marta, Marta went to hospital for what was considered to be relatively routine heart surgery to patch a little hole in her tiny heart. But through a series of errors, this routine heart surgery resulted in Marta being deprived of oxygen for a number of hours. She became completely dependent on technology to sustain her little life. At this point in time in the story, Teresa reached out and took my hand. She said, "Kathy, I had asked God to come into my heart when I was 22. But nothing happened then. And so I rejected God for a long time. For 20 years, I ignored God. But do you know, when we finally asked Marta to be taken off the machines, when she lay in my arms, and as her life and her breath ebbed slowly away, it was then that love found me. Love that swept around me like a blanket, and it was love that swept through me like a river. And love has never left me since. Sitting with Teresa, I felt the greatest of hope. That in those moments of greatest hopelessness, that is when love finds us. It's not in the times that are comfortable and predictable, but rather it's at the broken edges of our own lives and the lives of our world. So I pray that as a minister, and indeed all of us as a denomination, I pray that we will have the courage to step beyond the boundaries, to step beyond the broken edges and the comfortable lines, that we can let love find us and let love reveal herself through us. This is my hope and it's my prayer.
Thank you, Kathy. I have two more people to introduce, and the next two are not ordinands. They are not being ordained for the first time. They are coming to us from other denominations, and they are already ordained there, and they have discerned a call that has led them to become part of the United Church. And so we are very glad that they are here with us. And so the first one that I would like to introduce is Amy Crawford. And she has also chosen, will you come and follow me? There's a technical issue, so. Okay, so we are good and we will sing together. Thank you. I have a clear memory of being a child of about 8 years old. I was sitting on a wooden pew. It was very hard and a little bit sticky from its many coats of varnish. It was a hot summer night, and there was a revival going on at the First Baptist Church in El Paso, Illinois. I was a very shy child and struggling mightily with the call I was feeling to profess my faith in Jesus. Now, in order to do that, I had to walk down what seemed like a very long aisle to where the pastor was waiting in the front of the church to welcome those who wanted to answer Christ's summons. I've pretty much been struggling with Jesus ever since. Partly because of that powerful experience as a child, and partly because of my experiences with my own children and others' children, I have felt called throughout my ministry to honor and make space for the deep spiritual connections and experiences of young people. I am passionate about helping faith communities and families view children as capable and whole spiritual beings, and in assisting them to create space for children to learn the language and practices of faith that will sustain them throughout their lives. My husband and partner, Andrew Sheldon, who's sitting in the back corner, has taught me that the church often has its priorities mixed up, because we spend more time focusing on the story that Jesus took bread and took a cup of wine and said, "Do this and remember me," rather than focusing on the story that says Jesus took a child and placed the child in the center and said, "Whoever welcomes this child welcomes me." I seek to live out my passions and my beliefs through my ministry with children, youth, and young adults at the General Council Office. And I support and advocate for the centrality of the child in the church and the awareness that children come to us already with a deep spiritual connection
through the art and discipline of something called godly play. I regularly practice it with children and train adults in how to use it. If you want to know more about godly play or about ministries with young people in the General Council, please come and see me, and go Raptors!
Thank you, Amy. Our final admittant that we are meeting this afternoon is Tessica Hackshaw, and he has chosen My Life Flows On.
My Savior still is living, my Lord shines around, my peace in Christ is giving, no story in the song, all to the Lord I'm giving, sings love and song. How can I live from sleep?
And so we welcome Tessica.
Thank you. When we say yes to God and seek His will, God does things in our lives that are unfathomable. He takes us to places we never thought we would go and causes us to do things we never thought we could do. Never had I entertained the thoughts that I would migrate from the all year round warmth of the Caribbean islands to come to the cold and snowy place called Canada. After all, I visited Canada in September 2007, and the quick change in temperature in one day made me believe that I could never live in this country. I spent 2 days and left. But when you are in ministry, no one knows. I've come to realize that peace, love, and justice are the hallmark of the Christian faith, and to me, everything else takes second place. In the last 3 years in the Caribbean, I questioned myself regularly and sternly to find out if I'm a part of a system that upholds human dignity and create the space for ministers and lay alike to be empowered by the Holy Spirit. I witnessed ministers being ostracized for using their gifts to assist in the edification of the church. When I saw the injustice, I could not remain silent. And as a result, I was targeted. For 3 months, I struggled with these passages. Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. Genesis 12:1. And get up, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt and stay there. Matthew 2:12. Initially, I thought that these passages were meant to form texts. But not until I started looking for a place where I could practice justice that I realized that the words were directed at me. I reached a point where I could not sing meaningfully the hymns I love dearly. I felt like my faith had dried up, and there was nothing inside of me that gave joy. I went through the motion in ministry with little or no enthusiasm. I literally cried for justice. I knew that then that I had lost understanding of the context in which I was schooled and nurtured. I needed a breath of fresh air. I found life again when I sat in my office and courageously penned my feelings and resignation to my then president. I then realized that I had literally created this, that God had literally created this path for me. And because I obeyed, I found new life and faith again. This is why I use this hymn, because it does not only speak about individuals' faith, but it captures the creative nature of God, recorded in the Genesis and closing of the scriptures. In particular, the words written to the churches in Asia Minor by John on the island of Patmos, and the one who is seated upon the throne said, "See, I am making all things new." God is doing a new thing in my life. And whatever is God's will, I promise that I will obey. If God is doing something new, why should I keep from sinning?
Thank you. And thank you to all of the candidates and admins who have spoken to us this afternoon. What a wonderful array of gifts and stories we have heard from these people. Now, we are going to be handing out ballots. Do you guys want to explain the process, or shall I?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm waiting to be corrected if I get it wrong. So the ballots will be distributed, and all of the names are on a single ballot, and we will vote on them one at a time. So don't get your ballot, whip out your pencil, and just write all the way down. I will read out the motion for each one, and then our president will call for the vote, and then you mark your ballots. And then we move on to the next one. Did I get that right? Okay, so I got that right. Does that all make sense to everyone? Okay, so we're going to distribute the ballot, and then we'll just have a moment of centering, and then we'll begin the process. Oh, you need to hold up your voting card in order to get a ballot. If you do not hold up your voting card, you will not get a ballot. So remember, do not mark your ballots ahead of time.
Yeah. Okay, if there's anyone who still does not have a ballot, hold that card really high so they can see you.
I see one more against the wall over there. Two more. Okay, last call for ballot.
Okay, everybody comment on ballot?
Okay, so before we mark our ballots, let's just take a moment to center ourselves. And I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes and bring to mind the remarkable stories and presentations that we have just heard. And give thanks to God for those moments of inspiration and those moments that have touched our hearts. And let us together ask for God's wisdom to guide us as we vote on accepting those presented to be ordinands or admitted into the United Church of Canada. And so together the people of God say, Amen. Our first motion is by me and seconded by Lorraine Newton-Comar that Debbie Bukaitis Grant be ordained by Toronto Conference on May 28, 2016 at this 92nd annual meeting.
You have heard the motion. You may mark your ballot.
The second motion is by myself, Kirsty Hunter, and seconded by George Moore, that Alexander Constable be ordained by Toronto Conference on May 28, 2016 at this 92nd annual meeting.
You have heard the motion. You may mark your ballot.
Motion by myself, Kirsty Hunter, and seconded by Nina Fulford, that Meg Jordan be ordained by Toronto Conference on May 28, 2016 at this 92nd annual meeting.
You have heard the motion. You may mark your ballot.
Scrutineers, I believe we need another ballot. Okay, moved by myself and seconded by Norm Seeley, that Linda Newnham be ordained by Toronto Conference on May 28, 2016 at this 92nd annual meeting.
You've heard the motion. Mark your ballot.
Moved by myself and seconded by Dale Burkhart, that Lawrence Narco be ordained by Toronto Conference on May 28, 2016 at this 92nd annual meeting.
You've heard the motion. Mark your ballot.
Moved by myself, Kirsty Hunter, and seconded by Jeff Warner, that Kathy Underwood be ordained by Toronto Conference on May 28, 2016 at this 92nd annual meeting.
For the motion, mark your ballot.
The next motion is moved by myself and seconded by George Moore, that Amy Crawford be admitted by Toronto Conference to the Order of Ministry of the United Church of Canada on May 28, 2016 at this 92nd annual meeting.
For the motion, mark your ballot.
And finally, moved by myself and seconded by Roy McDonald, the Tuskahat shall be admitted by the Toronto Conference to the Order of Ministry of the United Church of Canada on May 28, 2016, at this 92nd annual meeting.
Approve the motion. Mark your ballot. So I call upon the scrutineers to come forward and to collect the ballot. Please don't fold them.
Okay, as the scrutineers are collecting the ballots, and I've already I'm just going to explain a little bit. They can't instantly tally them as they collect them. They need to go away and actually count them. So we're going to give them a little bit of time to do that, and they will come back and announce the results when they have been figured out. So we'll just give them another minute or so to gather the last of the ballots, and then I have two more people I would like to introduce to you.
Last call, anybody ballots?
Any other ballots that need to be picked up?
Okay, so we get a chance to use our voices in a moment. What we're going to do is we're going to hear from some of the designated lay ministers. These are people who have been recognized by their presbyteries in order to practice ministry in their local context. And we are grateful for all of the ministry that they have performed in those areas, continue some of them. So we're going to start with someone who isn't here today. She was unable to attend, but we will sing for her and think of her, and that is Barbara Creelman. And so she chose, I'm going to live so God can use me. And I know we've done a lot of our singing sitting down, but this one, feel like you're standing up. Don't actually stand. You have to give it some energy, and we'll send that energy out to wherever she is as thanks for her ministry. So let's sing together. I knew you would keep going if you stood up. I think that energy went out to her, so we are glad to do that. The next two people that I want to introduce are here. We will be hearing from them directly. The first one is Doreen Mason, and she has been recognized by Living Waters Presbytery, and the song that she chose is I Was There to Hear Your Morning Cry. It's hard to do that without singing that little bit, isn't it? Yeah. So welcome. Come on up.
Well, when I was preparing to speak today, I went with the 90-second rule. So it was very, very hard to come up with anything to say because at my age, I couldn't tell you my background in 90 minutes. It would take 90 seconds, it would take 90 hours. And as far as thank yous are concerned, that would take me 90 years. So instead, because I think it's important to have something to aspire to, and I think this is something we can all aspire to, I'd like to read you a nun's prayer from the 17th century. I think it's just as valid today as it was then. Lord, thou knowest better than I know myself, that I am growing older, and someday I will be old. Keep me from the fatal habit of thinking I must say something on every subject and on every occasion. Release me from craving to straighten out everybody's affairs. Make me thoughtful but not moody, helpful but not bossy. With my vast store of wisdom, it seems a pity not to use it all, but thou knowest, Lord, that I want a few friends in the end. Keep my mind free from recital of endless details. Give me wings to get to the point. Seal my lips on my aches and pains. They are increasing, and love of rehearsing them is becoming sweeter as the years go by. I dare not ask for grace enough to enjoy listening to the tales of others' pains, but help me to endure them with patience. I dare not ask for improved memory, but for a growing humility and a lessening sureness that when my memory seems to clash with others, with the memories of others, teach me the glorious lesson that occasionally I may be mistaken. Keep me reasonably sweet. I do not want to be a saint. Some of them are so hard to live with, but a sour old person is one of the crowning works of the devil. Give me the ability to see good things in unexpected places and talents in unexpected people, and give me, O Lord, the grace to tell them so. So with that in mind, thank you for all the good things that you have helped me achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. The final person that I want to introduce you tonight is, or to this afternoon, is no stranger to Toronto Conference. He has his red button, and that is Barry Ryder, and he has been recognized by Southwest Presbytery and has chosen We Are Pilgrims for his song. Welcome, Barry.
Thank you. Is there any way you can put that slide back on, who's ever controlling the PowerPoint? The previous slide. So I just wanted to let people know that one day I was a guest preacher at Norville United, and unbeknownst to me, they had actually done up a whole set of slides to a hymn that I had picked. And this was one of them. And they had picked from the website that picture, which is a youth at a peace rally in Jane and Finch after one of the youth a year later, because one of the youth in high school was shot in the high school. And so this was one of the youth at the peace rally. Thank you. 21 years ago, I was appointed the United Church as a United Church community minister in Jane and Finch. The role of the ministry is to stand in solidarity with this low-income, culturally diverse community. Although just recently I went through the process of being recognized, I've been in a covenantal relationship with the community and the presbytery for over 20 years. The community I work with sees me as their pastor. I've been recognized for my engagement in social justice work and even honored with an honorary doctorate degree. In 2013, 4 youth under the age of 16 were killed in Jane and Finch. 2 of them were from the social housing community of Firgrove, where my office is situated. To commemorate their lives, we did a memorial mural. But in addition to the 2 15-year-olds, we wanted to recognize other youth from Firgrove who lost their lives to violence. Would you believe that in a period of 15 years, in a community of 380 households, 12 youth lost their lives to violence? Now, to put that in context, think of your own church or your own community and draw a circle of 380 households. And think about if 12 youth within your community lost their lives in 15 years. A person in my community recently said to me, when you were first called to this position, you did not sign up for 12 youth from your community being killed. She was so true. But I have been called to stand with this community in their pain, as well as hope and celebration of a better tomorrow. In the midst of restructuring and diminishing resources, the church can remain true to its call of being with those on the margins. Although congregational ministry is important, it's not the only place the church is called to be. Thank you.
Thank you very
Good.
So I'm finished. Thank you for listening. And just one last thank you, I think, for all of those wonderful reflections that we have heard today from all of the candidates and designated lay ministers.
The results of the ballots have been brought forward. They're all positive for the
As we are weaving.
I need one more motion for someone. It's moved by David and Audrey that the ballots be destroyed. All in favor? Can you pull up your cards, please? Thank you. Those opposed? It's carried.
As we are weaving our stories and very aware of the circle of life, we are at the other part of the circle at this time where we would like to recognize those who are retiring from active ministry within our midst. So some of the names, I will just read their name out as they are not able to be here with us today. And as we have the people that are here, I will invite them to come forward as we sing their songs. So I do want to acknowledge, and we are working from page 29 of your workbook. I want to acknowledge the Reverend Mark Atchison, the Reverend Leslie Alfano, the Reverend Linda Butler, and I would invite the Reverend Sheila Campbell forward as we sing together her verse from I, the Lord of Sea and Sky.
Stars
I shouldn't have picked a song that I pick because I cry when I hear it. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my call to ministry, and I'm grateful I answered this call to ministry. And I'm grateful that even though this is early retirement, mind you, it's not the end of my call. My ministry will go on. And I want to thank the congregations that I served for Riverside Emory United Church, who practiced wonderful, wonderful stewardship in transferring trusteeship of the building to the Uganda Martyrs United Church. I think I'm the only minister who has served 2 different congregations in a single building. I'm also grateful to the Uganda Martyrs who presented me not only with traditional Ugandan garb, but also with semi-precious stones that are only found in Uganda. And as I said, this isn't the end of my journey. If you are sailors and you ever get down to the Caribbean, my husband and I are headed that way on our sailboat. And if you tune in on a Sunday morning on a cruise net, you may just very well hear me preaching. Thank you.
And I would invite the Reverend Ross Carson to come forward as we sing It Only Takes a Spark.
Had a birthday last week.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ross. Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you so much. I got the cake. I also got the cap. It says, I love Jesus. Now, don't you think the congregation loves you when you get a cap that says, I love Jesus? With the flames of the Spirit running along the brim of the cap. I thought I should tell you a little bit how I love Jesus. Walter Wink has helped us to love Jesus. He would say that Jesus is loved whenever people gather in domination-free relationships and a discipleship of equals. That people are loving Jesus. I'm only going to quote the fellows that are called home. I'm not going to count. Bill Fenn, principal of Emmanuel College, taught me. He said, the United Church has a low doctrine of infallibility. Some have a high doctrine. We have a low doctrine. He said, Christ will not let us so depart from the way of truth and grace as to be overcome by unbelief. Our journey can take us, but Christ will bring us home. So do you love Jesus?
Yes, please.
I can't hear you.
Amen. Brother.
When the Holy Spirit is with us, then we're loving Jesus. Sometimes ministry has moments of pushback. I've had a few. There was a minister some time ago his temperament wasn't suited for conflict. And yet he found himself embroiled in controversy. So he was asked, how was he coping? So he said, well, I'm happy at home. And he was getting through with the strength of his home life supporting him. Anne and I have been married for 22 years this fall. We met 25 years ago at Five Oaks. And she and I have become happy at home. And not only is our home life functioning, but it's flourishing. And that's something to be very grateful for. And would you please stand up? She's become a real partner in ministry too. And I just wanted to say that I'm glad to have served in Toronto Conference. I was educated both at Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary in the United Methodist Church, the USA, at Evanston, Illinois, and also at Emmanuel College. And I have not served in Toronto Conference until being called to the York Pines Church. And over the last 9 years, we've had a ministry of pastoral care and prophetic concern and ecological awareness, different moments at different times, dimensions of those. Tomorrow, Sunday rather, the congregation is celebrating its 50th anniversary. And I'm very glad to have been their pastor through these last years and to be a member of Toronto Conference. I'm grateful, you can tell my affection for Five Oaks, and I'm grateful a year ago, gave a large donation of money to the Five Oaks. And it was important at that time for those monies to come forward because it enabled a process to continue that required time for a group of people to bring a recommendation that has been hard to hear, but is important to have it come with a consensus from the board of Five Oaks. So I'm grateful for those monies from Toronto Conference. And grateful for the friends I've met in Living Waters Presbytery, the Spiritual Development Commission, the Open Hands United Mission to Nicaragua, our Bible Cat ministry. I just thought at the end I should give you my signature blessing. It's really a cheer. You know, sometimes you shouldn't just give a benediction, you should give a little enthusiasm. So here it is, with my punchline. I think it's mine. So the question is, who are you? And the answer is united. What are you? What are we? The answer is awesome. Are you ready? Who are you? United. What are we? Awesome. Who are you? United. What are we? Awesome. Who are you? United. What are you? Awesome. And the punchline is, we're particularly awesome when we're united.
I'd also lift up the name of Reverend Diane Dyer and invite Reverend Heather Graham to come forward as we sing a verse from the song River.
I'm nervous. I've never had to do this before. 27 years in ministry, and with God's grace, I'll make it to 30, I hope. I'm honored and privileged to be here today, surrounded by so many colleagues and friends. My first pastoral charge was in a little place in south of Saskatoon. It was a 4-point charge. It was called Conquest and Bounty. You've never been there. But it was bountiful and it was good. I spent most of my ministry in Saskatchewan. I'm happy to have had 11 years here in Toronto Conference. I have felt supported throughout all my 11 years of ministry here in Toronto Conference. And I thank you all. And my 2 small congregations, Waverley and Wannaville, where I serve. They are awesome people, very understanding, and they accept me. Because I'm weird. Anyway, it's been a good ride, and I'm going to keep going with it. So thank you very much.
I lift up the name of the Reverend Carol Hancock and invite the Reverend Jim Keenan to come forward as we sing a verse of Let Us Build a House.
I'm nervous too. And very grateful. I was accepted, I was admitted to the United Church from this conference, and I retired from this conference. So it's very precious that I'm here today. This morning when we were doing the exercise of what teaching of the 7 teachings of the elders really struck our heart. Mine was humility. And that is one thing I have begun to learn as a minister, right? It reminded me of a sermon I heard at York Minster Baptist Church about 11 years ago. It was Fred Craddock, and he's even shorter than me, you know, and they had this big polished pulpit, and he got up. I think he had to have something underneath his feet. And he looked down at everybody and he said, when I began preaching, I was over 6 feet tall. That's certainly, with a lot of love and a lot of few shoves, that's what pastoral ministry has taught me. I was welcomed into the United Church. I was a late bloomer in terms of faith. I really hadn't thought much about religion from 13 to my late 20s. And then had a reawakening of faith and had 9 years of training in another organization, another denomination, and eventually became ordained after 11 years. And then after a few years of ministry, realized I was in the right business, the right vocation, but with the wrong outfit. And the United Church welcomed me. And here I've discovered that I've been able to really engage in what's closest to the call, the images that led me to say yes to God. And it was a ministry of hope in spite of what is. A passion for the possible. And so many signs, we sometimes feel, oh, this and that about our church. We have so much hope and so much opportunity as a United Church. One of the greatest moments of satisfaction, joy, I think I had, I was had the honor of being the chair of the Toronto Conference Pastoral Relations Committee, and I was at National Settlement. I forget which year it was, a few years ago, and we were able to settle the first transgendered person in a small town in Ontario. That gives me a great deal of hope. That was many years ago. This morning and today, as we've been focusing on our original sin, really, as Canadians, until we make this friendship real, we can't become whole as a nation, let alone as a church. And I feel a great deal of hope there. Pastoral ministry does teach you. I'm continuing. Because of the generosity of the Toronto Conference, I was able to take the interim transition ministry training, and I'm really looking forward to specific time periods of sharing what I can in a more learned way. To help congregations really discover their potential. Anybody who's been in ministry have had wonderful experiences and really bad. I remember the same week, I had the joy of baptizing a child of a woman who had been really struggling in life, and I shared in her journey. But the Tuesday night before, I had to represent presbytery going to a congregation and tell them they were no longer able to appoint a particular minister. So the board yelled at me. Everybody yelled at me. I go home and I'm late. And the dogs bark and my beloved wife Mary yelled at me. So I then go into the living room to watch TV to calm down. And this particular minister was doing an advertisement in the sanctuary of that church that he was no longer to be appointed for hair plugs. And I had very serious thoughts of going back and punching him out. But I didn't. And Sunday I had the joy of the baptism. So take your pick, but it's all there. And it's what we're all about is united. We have tremendous hope. We have all sorts of assets to turn into liquid love, to get new tools, to really witness to Jesus Christ in this country. And I'm going to continue to be a part of it. But thank you very much for welcoming into your denomination.
Thank you. I do want to lift the name Reverend Warren McDougall and the Reverend Deborah McKellar, and invite the Reverend George Moore to come forward as we sing together "When We Come and Follow Me."
Thank you.
things the ordinand George could never have known. Wow, who thought that 19 years could go by so fast? Who would have thought that a chance remark from the seminarian would have launched me on a vocation that has been deeply rewarding and life-altering? Who would have thought that a group of grandmothers and other mature women in a Bible study group would prove to be an essential resource for preparing Sunday worship? A word to the ordinands out there: get a Bible study going as quickly as possible. Make sure it happens early in the week and stack it with grandmothers. Who would have thought that my first internship supervisor would be right when he said that my minister would be more about who I am than what I do? And related to that, who would have thought that in 2 internships and 2 pastoral relationships, the guys would find the courage to come out as gay? Nothing I did, honest. Just who I was. Go figure. Who'd have thought that a Catholic pastoral agent would become a best chum and be absolutely essential to my understanding of the culture of small town New Brunswick? And yet, who'd have thought that in 15 years of work with education and students, that I'd watch as the gifts and specialized training of diaconal ministers would continue to go unrecognized, undervalued, and underutilized in our church. I was talking to a friend yesterday. She's looking for work. She still has to do all the education about what it means to be a diaconal minister. Who would have thought that small rural and small town congregations in Plaster Rock, Riley Brook, Grand Falls Pastoral Church in New Brunswick, and in Dalston Crown Hill Pastoral Church in Southern Ontario could be so open to change and innovation, and joyfully so? Who would have thought that the sermon could be replaced by a process that engages the congregation and makes room for the Spirit to work? And related to that, who would have thought that the lived experience of our congregants can access holy wisdom and inform and support the faith journey? Who'd have thought that a small group of colleagues would be essential to maintaining my balance and health in ministry? That meeting monthly and sharing deeply would provide support as well as a confidential forum in which I could vent my frustrations and share my challenges. Who'd have thought that another group of clergy, called the Manic Ministers, could be so outrageously madcap, and that laughter could be so effective in healing bruised souls and providing perspective through humor? Who would have thought that my understanding of God and my relationship with God would change, would evolve so drastically in 19 years, and yet I would today still have a strong and sustaining faith? And maybe more than anything else, Ordinand George never would have thought that he'd ever be a married gay minister, married to another minister, Philip. Yes, I've moved and lived and grown in my walk with Christ. Who would have thought that it would be such a humbling privilege to serve as a follower of the Christ in pastoral ministry, to hold the hands, to wash the feet, to tend to the broken hearts, offer prayers, and feed the lambs? I'm deeply grateful.
And again, I was speaking to our circle, the Reverend Kathleen Mowat, Brian Nicholson, designated lay minister, and I would invite the Reverend Linda Treaties to come forward as we sing What a Friend We Have in Jesus.
I'll be asking you again. Everything's you gonna.
What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Those are old, familiar words that still ring in my head every time that I need them. What a privilege. What a privilege to stand here today. What a privilege to serve in this church, to live in God's presence with joy and blessing and prayer. What a privilege to worship God, to bring meaning to our lives through the stories of our faith, to live in relationship with God who comes to us, love incarnate, a great mystery that we wrestle with while we maintain the privilege of worshiping together in love, expressing kindness, gratitude, compassion, and justice for everyone, no matter who you are. With the devastation of Fort McMurray still fresh in our minds, we have heard that the steadfast love of God has accompanied people, not only in the loss, but also in the hope and in the inspiration to carry on. As retirees, we carry on with memories of people who have surrounded us with love and with care. For this, I feel tremendous gratitude and privilege. So with that catchy tune still resonating in my head and in my heart, it remains a great privilege to serve in this church and to carry everything to God in prayer. Thank you.
And I would invite forward the Reverend Young Reed as we sing together Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. It's me. I was such a wretched person. I was lost. Jesus died for my sins, and he was risen and invited me to his grace. So because of his grace, not only I was saved, but also he gave me a privilege to minister his sheep as an ordained minister for the last 22 years. So I preach the gospel without any fear. And my main message was, salvation is found in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved. I kept on preaching that message, and I observed amazing things happen. Many people came to Jesus Christ, and many congregation members get strengthened and got transformed, and they enjoyed the victorious life. Oh, for me, ministry is a blessing, and oh, what a great opportunity you have given to me.
I really appreciate the Toronto Conference and Living Waters Presbytery and Western Mount United Church congregation in Olivia. But more than anybody else, my wife, Sun Oh. Praise the Lord.
And I again would offer into our circle the Reverend Joseph Smiley and the Reverend Stephen Wiley. And I would thank all of the retirees for your words that you have used and given and the graciousness with which you have offered to us, both in this time and in your ministry in our midst. The retirees will actually be joining with the president of the conference at dinner, which I know you're all anxious to get to. But can I just ask that the retirees, if, when we do go down to dinner, which is not quite yet, if you would allow them to go first so that they can gather their plates and then meet with the president and other guests for a time of celebration of them.
Thank you. The order of the day has come upon us. We're all hungry, and so we are going to. I'll ask the agenda team to look at the business that is still at hand and try to find a place for it in the future agenda. So at this time, I call upon Audrey to make some announcements and then Paul to lead us in blessing.
So just a note about the workshops, and that is that they are happening after dinner at 6:15, and they are happening in various rooms. Please note on that in your name tag, the workshops that you're signed up for and where they are is listed here, and the red shirted volunteers will help you to find those as they are able. A reminder that the deadline for accountability questions and the deadline for new business is rapidly approaching us at 9 o'clock this evening. And a reminder that the choir rehearsal, if you would like to be a part of the choir for the celebration of ministry service, is in fact tomorrow at 4:15. So you are welcome to be a part of that. That will be held at St. Paul's United Church, Dem Street. Paul, you're going to come up and talk about the evening? Because I know you're thinking, hey, I'm having so much fun, I don't want it to end after the workshops. So we do have a time of Vespers that will be happening right after the workshops, because when do you get to do Vespers, right? So we're going to join together in that, and then briefly explain to us the Storybook Cafe.
Yeah, Storybook Cafe is kind of a 60s style coffee house. I'm going to be kind of doing crowd control and hosting it, but hoping that people will feel welcome, more than welcome, to offer songs, stories, poems, titles. We don't have a whole lot of time, but if you are interested in taking part in that, let me know so that when we begin that at around 8:30-ish, and we'll have about an hour, so I'll have some sense of how many people want to offer something to the Story Cafe. So, very excited.
Excellent. And because a good party never really ends, we'll tell you what you could do after that if you want to.
We knew one of our greatest challenges would be to find a pub in town that had enough space for us and wasn't full already. So we are inviting you here in Midland to join us at the Midland Cultural Center if you want one of those other kind of beverages. And the Cultural Center is just down. It is kitty corner to the library, which is beside the church. So just 2 blocks across the street. And we invite you, if you want a place to just have a beverage, to join us to Story Cafe.
And this just in, our workshops will actually start at 6:30, so you have a little bit of extra time. I also would be remiss, and I'm going to mess this up, in thanking our keyboardist, who was brought in especially to do this for us today by his wife. And here's the thing, it's their anniversary. And then over to Paul for Grace.
Let's do it.
thanksgiving, always today we bring
Thank you.